You're now listening to Directing Magic with your host, Marquette Jones.
Hello and welcome back to Directing Magic Podcast. I'm really excited because I have the co-director of the Sundance documentary HONEYLAND. It premiered in Sundance 2019, and the directors are here to talk about what an amazing film they've made and how they were able to make such dazzling work. It's really beautiful, which you guys will hear more about shortly. Okay, so the first thing is tell us your name, and I'm doing this because I'm being a punk and not pronouncing your name well. I don't want to butcher it. So,
hi, I'm Tamara Kotevska.
So welcome. First of all, tell everyone what HONEYLAND is about.
Well, the theme of HONEYLAND is about keeping the balance and reminding humanity what we have and how we need to behave with what we have and the resources we think we possess, but actually we are just borrowing. So we have to have in mind how much and on what way we are borrowing. And the story that we're following is the story of the 50-year-old woman based in the village Bekirlia in North Macedonia. And she's the last European female bee hunter. And she's living in this abandoned village together with her mother, who is deaf and blind and who will die during the shooting of the film. And the conflict that we are following is between her and the family of nomadic beekeepers who comes to the same village, the same territory, and they bring more bees, but they don't behave with the bees on the right way, on the way that she suggests. And that's why their bees start attacking her bees, and there's not honey enough for anyone. This is the base of the conflict in the film.
Awesome. And it's shot as an observational documentary, right? So
Yes.
you shot it basically cinema verite. What made you decide to go in that direction as opposed to something that probably would have been a lot easier for you just to do like interviews and a little bit of B-roll?
It's important to say that we've adapted our way of work through 4 years of together work with the same team. And this is our second film together. The first film was also environmental topic set in Macedonia, but very different in style. We used narration, we used stop animation, and it's just a completely different experience, let's say. And we found out this way of experimenting with different subjects and finding out what is the best way and the best form for a certain story. So coming from completely different backgrounds as authors and as filmmakers, we could contribute each in our familiar direction and knowledge, of course, and together to create something completely new. In this case, we started with HONEYLAND also as an experiment in terms of form. We were sure about the theme and the idea from the beginning, but about the form, we were not sure. So we started this long process of research and experimenting in different forms to see if maybe narration would work. Is this just a portrait of the woman? And eventually, what made our mind pretty clear how we will go on with this film was the coming of the nomadic beekeeper family, when the conflict was pretty clear. And in this point, our biggest challenge was to set fiction looking like dramaturgy in a completely realistic material and story.
And how were you able to do that?
Well, also, this is a very interesting part of the process. So let's say we started shooting with Atija for about 6 months before the other family showed up. And this was the time when we got to know a lot about her and the family, because they're nomads, so they come and go every season. They came, but we didn't pay attention to them until the moment when we found out from her that they are a crucial part of her life and of the conflict. So it became our mission to get closer to them and to see if they will work as a part of the film. Mm-hmm. And eventually we tried to communicate with the children because she was very close with the children. She doesn't have children of her own. So we started eating together, singing songs, telling stories. We made the first shots with the children before approaching the adults. And when we were the most certain about what direction we will take this film was when we applied for Sarajevo Film Festival on the Work in Progress program, where we just gave assembly. It's not even a rough cut. And we saw the reactions of the people. We saw how they understand what is shown. And we got good advices in what direction to take it. And one of the advices was to just avoid any kind of artificial tool, just to go on with these characters. Mm-hmm. So from that moment, we started editing. The process was very interesting because we started on mute. We just wanted to set the story and just visually to follow the story and see how it's going to work. And also very important to see what we're missing and what is unclear. So once we were sure, okay, we are missing, for example, a conflict, or here it becomes boring, or we were trying to focus the next shooting. For example, if we are missing a relationship between her and the mother, we will devote all the shooting just to get as much as possible from their relationship. Or if we were missing more with the children. So this is the way we were working in order to achieve this kind of dramaturgy, just step by step, to be objective about what we have and what we don't have, what is clear and what is unclear, and find the ways to solve it.
I was curious about, what is your collaboration process when you're working on film projects?
Because this is our second film, this started as a very interesting collaboration because I come from a film school in Macedonia, where I was mostly focused on dramaturgy and characters. Mm-hmm. And my main domain was documentaries, but mostly social type of documentaries and stories. And Ljuba has a different background. So just using both strengths, let's say, we managed to make this a very strong story in terms of dramaturgy and characters, and also in terms of point and environmental issue that it represents. So we think that we got it covered in a way.
Did either one of you do more of the cinematography for it?
We did a teamwork constantly. We were changing teams. One director would work with one cinematographer, then change. The shooting process was very different, every time.
You guys won Best Cinematography at Sundance in your category, right? It's pretty dope. And how do you... Okay, so you know what? It's funny because when I watched this story, I definitely felt the environmental aspect of it, but I was going to ask you, what impact do you think the film is going to have as it goes out into the theaters and into homes?
Well, it was interesting how they connected with different social problems that each society has. For example, in Hong Kong, they were mostly focused on the solitude presented in the film and the relationship with the mother, Atija and her mother. And they pointed out this as the strongest problem that the film refers to. Meanwhile, when we came, for example, in New York on the first screening, it was funny when one person from the audience, referring to Hussein, the father of the nomadic family, he said, yeah, we are just like that, meaning of all of us, because we are all part of this, most of us, most of the world is part of the consumeristic society. And there's just small minorities that don't live by the same rule. So I think that this film should impact mostly our unaware greediness that is implied to us from our birth in a way. How much we use, how much we want, what we need and what we don't need. This is something that we are kind of taught from little to behave like everybody behaves, to consume what everybody consumes, to take, to wear, to buy whatever everyone has. And this is the infinite competition. And this film is just pointing out to that one moment when we need to stop, look around and say, okay, do we really need this? Or can we do a better without this? Or with less?
And so in the U.S., it was more about the consumption part. Was that what you're saying? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the consumerism.
Mm-hmm. And so for you, what is the biggest piece that you hope that people take away from it? What I'm saying is, I understand that it's like there are different things that people could take away from the film. Like when I watched it, I was struck mostly by two things. One, like you're in this environment that feels almost like out of time, like not modern. And then you see her go and buy hair dye, the chestnut hair dye, which like was so poignant for me because I'm like, wow, like she's in this other world, but then she can still kind of step into, I want my hair to look nice, so I'm gonna buy some hair dye. That was the most touching part for me. And then the other really touching part for me as I watched it was just the relationship between her and her mom and seeing how they interacted with each other until the very end. So I guess what I'm asking you, what's your favorite part of the overall piece?
Okay. Sure. Well, actually, the scene that you mentioned just yesterday, we talked about this after the screening. We had a close screening, and I said the same, that this scene where she's dyeing her hair, for me, is also my favorite. And in my opinion, as a viewer, not as an author, the most important scene, because it shows every other scene in the film shows just basic survival. And this scene shows that she's aware that she's a woman and she wants to be beautiful. She wants to be part of the world. The only thing that kind of sets her apart from being an animal trying to survive in this cruel area, of course. And also, I would say that the ending scene when she climbs after her mother's death, when she climbs on the rock and she finds honey, is crucial because it's the message that we want to send. If you respect and respect nature and don't take everything away, nature will have resource for you when you most need it. And this is it. Eventually, she managed to save the bees by returning them to the beehives in the rocks. And they told her thank you in the end, in a way, by giving honey when she most needed.
One of the things that I read about Honeyland was that your characters are speaking a form of Turkish that is, that's older.
It's also a dialect that belongs to the tribe Kazalbashi, which Hatice is a part of. And this is a dying tribe. Some interesting wisdom she would say, some sentence that you could never imagine, like it's not in use anymore. You know, like for example, when she said, "I've become a tree." This is something that you would not expect from a person like that to come out. And just she used a lot of short sentences, consisted like great wisdom that for us was beautiful to hear.
And do you guys have your next project that you hope to work on?
Yes, they're separate projects.
What? No, you can't break up the band.
Well, you must if you want to make the third one.
Are you able to talk about it or?
Oh, I think, yes, we can say something about it. For me, it's my first fiction debut film. It's a screenplay that I've been writing even maybe before these two documentaries. And now I finally got back to it. And it's based on a real event that happened in Macedonia. And the theme of it is conflict between tradition and progress, but it's a modern story this time. And the event that it's based on is a foreign parachuter gets accidentally shot by an old man who takes care of his grain field, who's chasing crows, and he's stuck there in the village. And this is the beginning of the story. So
for me, I want to say, not that he'll ever, I don't know if he'll listen to it or not, but one of my professors in film school is from Macedonia. So I just wanted to wave at him from afar. So,
Who is that?
Milcho Mancheski.
Oh, he was your professor.
Yeah. We had to watch Before the Rain many times. So I wanted to just kind of shout him out because it's so random. Very beautiful country. From all of his posts on Facebook and etc. And obviously from your film as well. Really beautiful. And the last question, well, 2 questions that I have. How can we support you and support your film?
Maybe if you announce the website that it's honeyland.earth, and there's donations for the children of Sam's family there, for social workers and further education. This is the best way, I think. You get a jar of honey in return for the donation. So this is our campaign we're having.
Well, I think that's a great way to end it. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for the great work that you've done. I really hope that people will check it out. Very, very beautiful. And like they said, you can actually watch it without reading the subtitles. It's that cinematic.
Thank you. Hope to meet you sometime in the future, and good luck.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Directing Magic with Marquette Jones. Be sure to visit directingmagic.com for past episodes and other information relating to the show. Also, be sure to subscribe and rate and comment on iTunes. Until next time, bye-bye.